So welcome. We are officially starting today.
And Allie and Rick, we promise that we'll address the time for Sundays, for sure. We'll open it up to the group. But to start with this morning, let's get Jeffrey involved so that he can shamanize us again with the vibrations that we had talked with Sally about earlier in the week. And he'll get us vibrating in a higher vibration.
And Bill will give me a thumbs up if it's coming through well.
Oh, and so we just embrace that wonderful drumming and what it does with our whole being. We take this moment now to just focus on breathing in and breathing out.
Picture yourself walking through a beautiful landscaped park in the middle of the day.
You're actually with someone you love and talking about the joy of living at a higher level of universal consciousness.
There's a lot of laughter between the two of you. One of you is the current you. The other you is the future you.
And as you realize who it is you're walking with, you notice that the pace of your walk is slow and you're moving toward the only cloud in the sky, a sky which is a beautiful blue color.
As you know, normally when you walk towards something in the sky ahead of you, like a low-hanging cloud, it seems to be moving away from you.
However, this cloud seems to be moving toward you. And as the two of you watch, it gets closer. And you notice that as it gets closer, it becomes smaller and smaller, like a white balloon. And then the balloon changes color. And it becomes about half the size of a hot air balloon.
Both of you are amazed at its transformation from a cloud to a balloon. And so your curiosity is heightened.
And as you watch, the balloon becomes two balloons and drops two golden ropes, one each from the bottom of each balloon.
Both of your yous feel a sense of excitement and wonderment, as if the balloons are inviting each of you to grab hold of their respective golden ropes.
So the current you and the future you smile at one another, and without hesitating, each of you grab hold of the balloon nearest you.
At that instant, the balloons began to rise and lift each of you higher and higher.
You feel very safe. You feel very secure as you're lifted higher and higher. You're able to hold each other's hand as you continue to rise, holding on to the golden rope with one hand and your other self with the other. And as you do so, you both feel an incredible sense of peace and connection with the oneness of everything.
The balloons stop rising, giving each of you an opportunity to bask in your own thoughts about what you're experiencing.
So take a moment now to look around, become aware. What do you see? How high did you go? What are you feeling? Take some time to be aware.
Suddenly, the balloons began to descend slowly. And by the time you reach solid ground again, the balloons began to etherealize. And the golden ropes become umbilicals attached to supernatural messages in the sky just above your heads.
As you look up, you can read the messages that both of you have received. So take a moment to become aware of what message the current you got and what message the future you received.
When you're ready, open your eyes and share with the group the message that each of you's received. Welcome back.
Welcome back from an amazing trip. And we just invite anybody who'd like to share anything about your experience to go for it. And Laura, I see your hand.
So I'm kind of go for it. So I just love guided visualizations. Thank you so much. And when I was walking with my future you, when you said that's who I was walking with, the future you just looked at me and said, man, you used to worry about so much stuff. And the two messages I got, current me got fear not, just like, the angel Gabriel who appeared to the shepherds. And the future me got to laugh, like a divine laughter, like a big cosmic laughter.
Oh, that's
Cool.
great. Oh, that's awesome. Wow. How nice. And look at the smile. You've got this big smile on right now. And it's like you've internalized that message deeply.
And as you know, laughter in that respect and in that kind says a lot, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Allie.
Laura, mine was actually pretty similar to yours in that my present me was fearful and unsure and, not as confident. And specifically this man over here, not feeling 100%, assured that he loves me and that, will have forever. And the future me was very just serene and felt just so much love, both for myself and for this guy over here, and just a contentment of sharing life together and just feeling in myself so confident and just wonderful.
No, cool.
How nice.
Cool.
Yeah. What a message to receive from your future self. Who knows?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. I love it. Jean.
Yeah. So I had a hard time having my future self and my current self hold hands on the way up because my future self was just going 1,000 miles an hour. Just like, wait. So I was like, okay. And then when you said, you kind of stopped and I was like, okay, we're okay now. And the message I got was, don't be afraid, much like Laura and also like Allie. Don't be afraid. And then there are no limits for you.
Oh, no limits.
Nice.
Nice. Yay. Thank you. And that is
And
so
true.
funny. I love that vision of just my future self wants to get way ahead here because the future self knows. All right.
I hope so.
Yeah, we're going to count on that, right? Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else care to share? Okay. You're on mute.
As I was rising up, you were rising up.
Renee, wait, Kay is going first and then Renee.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you called me.
Okay, I got, well, first, I was distracted because the sky was blue and I couldn't figure out if I should visualize Duke blue or Carolina blue. So, but anyway, once I got into it, the visualization of my present self, the message was the best is yet to come. And the future self, and I think we're all having similar messages, was just be and live in joy. So the joy and the laughter and all that,
Nice.
I love the similar messages.
That's
Wow.
great.
Wow.
I do too. I like that so many people are getting that because it really is telling us, pay attention because our future self has given us a really important message.
Yeah. Well, just to help with what color blue that was, Kay, and the rest of you, the Chapel Hill color would have been at the 81 mile marker, and the Duke color would have been at the 77 mile marker.
Oh, you just had to do that. Okay, Renee. We're going to let that one go. That's real close to politics here in North Carolina. Renee.
And mine is a little different, but I felt the message was the same. Okay, we're holding hands and we're going up together. And when the balloons are up there, mine said hope. Okay, and the other balloon didn't happen right away. My future self was still having a good time with rolling around the balloon, and but it said, finally, peace on earth.
Oh, that gave me goosebumps.
Cool.
Ooh,
Nice,
Cool.
nice. Our future selves are kind of rebellious, aren't they? I wonder what that
My
message
present self is too. I must admit.
wouldn't it be, right? Thank you for sharing that. That's sweet. I like that. Rick.
So mine was interesting because the present me was me, but my present me, my future me was the same. But as we rose up a couple hundred feet, it's my body, my future me was starting to be translucent, like there was a between interdimensional, and there was really nothing said. We didn't hold hands, but there was like probably like I would say a cord connection between us. But the information that I got is be in the present now, nothing more. And then we came back down, and then I kind of became more translucent to where you couldn't really see, but my present now knew that my future now was there.
Mm,
So, yeah,
wow.
pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
Nice. Nice. Did anybody notice the color of your balloons? Did they change color or did they stay white?
Stay white. Mine stayed white.
Mine at one point turned purple.
Purple, which is dominion. Okay. That's where I'm going with that is, to maybe think about that as a power that can help you in your present self. Yeah.
Mine was green.
Green. And what kind of green? Was it like a bright green or an olive green or?
Like a healthy grass green.
Okay, that would be strength. Okay. Strength. I think that's inner strength, the light green. Yeah, bright green. Gosh, I know these too. After I asked to go. Yeah, because order is olive green and strength is spring green. So
I
Well,
have Carolina blue and
what would it be if it's a rainbow? It's like both the hot air balloons, they're real colorful.
oh yeah, so you had that would be like all the powers coming together. If we did it from a 12 power inner perception, it's like all of the powers coming together, embrace and support. Yeah.
And if we did it from a chakra perspective,
Yeah.
all of the chakras would be open.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah. Cool. Somebody else was saying too.
I was saying that I had Carolina blue for my present self and purple for my higher self. So they were different.
Purple would be dominion for your higher self, and imagination would be that Carolina blue for yourself. So imagination that's pretty cool. Which again, I'm getting into 12 powers here, but imagination is always active, and we can either use it for our higher ideas and divine ideas, or we can use it to fuel our worry. So that's imagination.
I think in the future, you'll be rooting for East Carolina Pirates. Just a thought.
Yeah. Or the Lakers, maybe. Okay. All right. Who else had?
Julianne.
This is so fun. My balloons changed from white to the multicolored. What came to mind was Joseph's, Technicolor amazing coat, which also would fit with 12 powers. Okay, so let's see. What happened is the message to my current self is keep going, keep doing what you're doing. You are the vehicle to your future self. Oh, my future self was showing gratitude to my current self. And then we actually got pulled up into the basket of the hot air balloon.
Oh, okay.
And then when we were in the basket, the message to my higher self was I was getting ready to transition from my future self. I was getting ready to transition from this life. I was full of joy, just radiating joy. And there was a message like I'm very happy with you. That's an anthropomorphic God message, but you have fulfilled your dreams and your visions of blessing and serving humanity in this way, and you have done much work to help the world, or something like that. So it was all this joy and fulfillment. That's the word I want, fulfillment.
Fulfillment. Nice.
Well, you've just exposed one of the secrets of our divine nature, our higher self, because it may seem anthropomorphic, but it's a ventriloquist.
Speaking from us, right? I love it. That's great. Anybody else? Cool. Hopefully that set the stage for the kind of way we want to approach today with Hey Diddle Diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the MetaSpiritual Riddle. Okay. That's where we want to head, because we thought it would be fun to have fun today. We feel like people need a little bit of fun, but we also want to go deep in terms of how we can really metaspiritually interpret anything, Doesn't matter what we look at, we can always be saying, what message can I get from this? How can I use this? What is it saying and what does it represent within me? So is it everybody game?
Yeah. And Julianne, you brought up the subject about the afterlife. I'm reading a book now, and Rick is reading the same one by Stephen Hawking. And he was buried in Wimbledon area in London between Newton and Charles Darwin.
Yeah, he's an amazing. Reading about him and reading how he wrote about himself, even in part of that, is pretty incredible. So anyway, all right. So we're going to look at the poem, the little riddle, Hey Diddle Diddle. And we're going to look at some ideas for MetaSpiritual interpretation of the parts of it. Then we're going to give you guys an opportunity to work individually in little groups for a little bit to take some of that and put your own spin on it and come up with how you would redo that or what it would say, what message it's saying. And then we're going to come back and share all those and just see all the different ways. And this is the piece we want to emphasize. Just like there was no right or wrong way for you to approach that meditation, and no matter what happened, it was yours. MetaSpiritual interpretation is the same way. There is no right way to do this. There is no one thing that each item represents. It's open to interpretation, and your meaning is what makes it unique for you. Is that cool for everybody? Okay.
And Allie and Rick, we're going to definitely leave enough time at the end to make sure we cover the possible change of hours for the Sunday cafes.
Okay, let me say right now, folks, it's more of a joke. I don't mind it at all. We don't. It's our way to say, okay, we get up at 4 a.m. just to bust your chops.
Yeah,
but anyway.
And I'm going to add to that. Yeah, it is more of a joke. It is actually nice for us that at 9 in the morning, we're done with this and are ready to start our day from a very spiritual perspective by 9 a.m.
You were kidding. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying.
Okay, so you were April fooling us.
We were April fooling you, yes.
Only a couple days late for the April Fools, but it's okay.
You know, we give April Fools a whole first week.
Well, remember that we're on the West Coast, so we're a little slower.
No, I spent time in the West Coast. You're not any slower. You just have different ways of thinking.
There we go.
Which is great.
Love it.
All right, so time will continue. And we will say for the people who are just who may have tuned in after we mentioned this when we were chit-chatting, we are also on our schedule this week is to pick a date for our fall retreat that's going to be in person. We're going to do it. We're going to bite the bullet and schedule it and affirming that all is going to be well, so we'll be able to do it. So email us with weekends, August, September timeframe, maybe into early October. But we're looking more at like August, September weekends. Don't tell us now. Just email us dates that would be good or chat through the chat box. And we'll try to find a time that'll be most convenient for those who are interested. Okay. And I got to tell you guys, just as a little aside, on April Fool's Day, I am always on alert because this guy is incredibly good. But I've learned now after 40 some years that I'm aware. I am on alert. He got me on that Friday morning. It was Friday morning. We always podcast with Paul Hasselbeck at 10 o'clock on Friday morning Eastern time. So it's morning. We're in bed, waking up. Bill goes, honey, we got to get out of bed. Holy cow, it is 9:45 and we got Paul at 10. And I'm going like, what? How could it be 9:45? And he goes, April Fool. It was 7 a.m. And I said, you had to do it before I was awake. That's the only way you could get me.
That's nasty.
Oh, he's had some for me. Oh, he's gotten me a few times, but we won't go into all those now. But that was a good one. That was a really good one. Okay, so what they're really doing is trying to keep us from putting them in groups. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, I'm going to share screen. And first of all, we have the hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. Everybody see the riddle itself? The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. Okay, so everybody knows the riddle, right? So Bill has added his little piece about physics, and it's utterly impossible. Everybody catch that, right? So what we want to do is look at it meta-spiritually. We thought it might be helpful. We did a little research around the key terms, because when you do meta-spiritual interpretation of anything, whether it's scripture, whether it's a movie, a book, a quote, a poem like this, what you want to do is pull out the main key items, like key words that pop out to you, or key places or key things, and then look at what those could mean from an internal perspective, because meta-spiritually, everything's happening within us, right? So this is not a real cow jumping over a real moon out there somewhere. It's all happening within us. So we looked up some of these terms for you. These are not the one and only interpretations, okay? It's an interpretation that can get you kick-started with your discussion. But what you're going to be asking is, as we look at these things, what do they say to you? What do they make you feel? As you think about yourself, what could it mean? So I want to do two things at one time here. I want to switch screens so I can go to a new share. This is something I'm playing with. I haven't done a lot of this, so let's see if I can make it work. Are you now seeing a new one with the meanings?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm also going to send you that in the chat box. So you'll have this to take with you. And if you want to snap a picture of it, that's another way to have it with you. That's not the one, that is the one. So I'm sending it to you now. Okay. Did I send that to everyone? I did. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at what these mean, and feel free to throw in your own ideas as we're talking as a whole group, because I want you to feel real comfortable about possible ways you could interpret it. And then what you're going to do is put all of these things together and kind of figure out what it means. But we're not going to do that as a whole group. We're going to let you go into little groups to do that. Okay.
And so these are the basic interpretations given throughout the years for each of these elements.
Yeah. So the hey diddle diddle, first of all, diddle is actually a real word. And in the Oxford Dictionary, one of the definitions for diddle is, let me find it here, wasting time without having a purpose. Well, we kind of reinterpreted that to mean, for meta-spiritually, it could mean the value of making time to relax, like play, because we sometimes say when we play, there's not really a purpose, although we believe it really is. And the whole idea of self-care and capital S self-care, all of those concepts go into that little phrase, hey diddle diddle, like, hey, let's play, let's make time for our self-care.
And of course, as you see, the cat in psychic terms is our psychic nature, and the fiddle is creating music or joy, even the music of your soul. Now, the cat and the fiddle is a common term for the inns or hostels in England. That's what they call them.
And the cat, there's one called the cat.
And there's one called the cat.
And they played a little game where they tossed a ball around. Was that the fiddle? How did the fiddle? Oh, they would have fiddles playing in the inn, and there was a game they played where it was the cat. It had a cat, which was called the ball. They called the ball that. So that was the sport that kind of went along with it. Okay. And the cow jumped over the moon. The cow represents, from a meta-spiritual perspective, nourishing or sustaining our vital life-giving principles. And the moon is our feminine nature. I think most people are familiar with that, but it also can stand for unity or expansiveness. So one interpretation is when we honor and align with our higher nature, which is that cow, we're over the moon with delight and joy, which is an inner feeling of joy. It's just an example.
And of course, you see the little dog chuckled to see such a sport. And dogs, of course, mean loyalty and protectiveness, obviously. In this case, of spiritual truths, safe passage into and out of the psychic realm. which is a realm I've been visiting more lately. And laugh equals joy or optimistic spirit. And sport is our active spiritual practices, which makes sense too.
Okay. And then finally, the dish ran away with the spoon. Real interesting. There wasn't room to really write this up there, but we found this incredibly interesting. There's the indigenous peoples have a saying or a thing they say that while making treaties with one another to avoid violent conflict, they use a dish with one spoon as a metaphor. And the dish represents the land that's to be shared peacefully. And the spoon represents the individuals living on and using the resources of the land in a spirit of mutual cooperation. Isn't that fascinating? We thought that was a really interesting interpretation of dish and spoon. So we kind of took that, and the other meanings of it are the nourishment of emotional and spiritual life. And the spoon is what you need to hold on to feel satisfied and nourished. So you use the spoon to feed your spiritual beingness. So another way to look at it. So questions, thoughts, comments. I'm going to stop sharing right now. Does everybody have this or take a picture of it or have it to take with you? And somebody in the group, if somebody in the group has it, you'll be able to share it in the group, I believe.
Could you email that to me?
I will do that in a minute. And let me get everybody in their groups first. First thing I want to do is stop sharing so we can break out into groups and talk about what questions might you have related to this. And I'm going to let Bill field that while I put you in your groups.
Okay, anybody, any questions so far? Julianne.
Just a comment. I heard many years ago that nursery rhymes are actually one of the oldest ways to communicate spiritual truths to us, and that all of them represent the metaphysical world.
I've heard the same thing. Thank you for bringing it up. Yes. Yeah, very definitely. Yeah, thanks, Julianne.
So sorry.
Okay, anyone else on what we just talked about?
Oh, it didn't do it right. Let me recreate. Sorry.
And as we mentioned before, you guys can come up with your own interpretations, of course. We invite that, obviously.
Questions? The reason I'm looking at the list is because some of you have two people, and that would add two people to a room, and I want to make sure the rooms are fairly equal in terms of number of people.
And of course, the cow has a better chance of jumping over the moon if it's just 93,000 miles away. If it's closer, it's got a better chance.
Okay. Questions on what you're doing, Judy?
Yeah, so you said we're going to come up with other metaspiritual interpretations of this rhyme, or we're going to do additional rhymes?
Thank you for your clarification. Yeah.
Okay.
Or is for you guys to talk about, as you put all these pieces together, how would you reinterpret the hey diddle diddle so that it would have a metaspiritual message?
Okay, the whole thing.
The whole thing together.
The whole rhyme. Okay.
Right. And you can use what we've shared here, or you can
spend a
little bit of time looking at, and it doesn't have to be a poem. Like we played with it and came up with another rhyme, but you don't have to. It could just be, here's what it's saying to us, because you're not going to have very much time. So we don't want to.
Yeah.
It's more just kind of like, this is what it's saying. If I had to sum that up in one or two sentences to somebody, here's what it would mean. You could do it that way.
Yeah, and you can stick with seriousness, or you can stick with humor.
Right. Yeah. Whatever floats your boat. Okay. Just a little fun with this. This should be fun. So that's what we want to achieve. She's got two. I'm going to move one more here. Wait a minute. I'm trying to get groups fairly equal here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm sorry. Are y'all nervous, wondering when is this going to happen?
No, it just feels overmanaged.
The only overmanaged part is trying to put people in rooms. This is like ridiculous, but because you're twos, some of you, I wanted to make sure it didn't get overwhelming in the group. I want your group to have enough. Okay, so is everybody ready? Jean, your hand's up, but is that from before? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, I'm going to take your hand down. And is everybody ready to go to their room? You may get, I'm not sure, you may get a little note. You have to accept it to go to the room. It'll take you right there. You may have to unmute. It may take you in mute, I'm not sure, and put your video on and just take off, get started. You have 10 minutes and you'll get a little warning. Your timing should be up at the top too. Okay, questions? We will see you on the other side.
Yep, have fun.
Here we go. There they go.
And they're all smiling.
All right, that worked. We're going to pause the recording because our folks right now, for anybody watching, you can be doing this on your own. We're coming back. People are coming back. Hello, hello, hello. All right.
What have you two been doing?
This is our little dog laugh, you know.
Uh-huh. Okay. The way Bill was holding that dog, I wasn't quite sure what you two had been doing. Just saying.
Maybe I shouldn't have put the recording on quite so early.
Or earlier.
All right. So everybody back. All right. So how'd it go? First of all, before you start giving feedback, what did you think of talking about it?
Good.
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 Yeah. Okay. So who wants to be the first to dive in and tell us what happened in your group? Give us some feedback.
Let's have Marion give.
Yes, I was just gonna say that.
Okay.
Marion, unbeknownst to her, became the secretary or whatever. I don't know if you want to call it secretary or the note taker.
She had a pencil in her hand and it elected her right then and there.
That's what happens when you have a pencil in your hand. Okay, Marion, you're on.
So the first line, we only did 2 lines because we didn't have time to do the rest. So we did, for the first line, our impression was, let's have fun and dance like nobody's looking.
Oh, nice. I like that. Yeah.
And the second line was me claiming spiritual soaring power.
Ah, soaring power. I like that. And I like you claiming it. So that,
Because of the flying thing,
the cow jumping over the moon.
That's not the cat, right? Marion?
The cow jumped over the moon.
Right.
Cool. And I like that you have you claiming it. That's neat. Okay. Any other thoughts from that group in terms of addition? Idea popped up?
We had a bunch of fun laughing about it.
Oh, good. Well,
It was very humorous, very light. Cows jumping over moons. Yep, right. I remember those days when you used to see that, but it's not now.
Okay, we're not going to go there, right?
No.
When it looked like, you said, oh, cows can't jump over the moon and all 93 million miles and whatever. I pictured people taking selfies of the Leaning Tower of Pisa and like it looked like they're holding it up and stuff. And you could actually, take a picture of a full moon with somebody looking like they're jumping over the moon. I don't know. That's what it made me think of.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So again, that inner child, bringing that out, which is really cool. Okay. Thank you, guys. Good job. Who wants to go next?
I nominate Julia Ann.
Okay. In most of our classes, when we do live sessions or in-person sessions, rather, when one of our rules is if somebody nominates another person, they actually have to be the one to go. But
I think that's an excellent idea because I was going to suggest Allison.
However, we will go with Julia Ann. Okay.
Oh, I was going to vote with Julie Ann to have Allison because, nothing.
All right. Well, why can't we do it together?
Okay.
I want to make we did the whole thing kind of broad overview and knitted them together. And what was neat is that each one of us kind of shared our individual impressions, and they all wove together and complemented each other. There was this incredible synergy in the ideas.
Oh.
So the hey diddle diddle was kind of the fun, the lightness, like, when you're done doing all your chores and you now have time to play and be light. And the cat could represent kind of our serious side, or there was also discussion about if you've ever watched a cat play by itself, there's jumping and twirling and all this kind of like dancing, like Marion talked about. And then we have the fiddle to represent the music, and it's if my soul is light from the diddling and I'm playing around, then I'm singing the music of my soul or living the music of my soul in my life. And then let's see, the cow jumping over the moon. The moon was like the divine feminine, like Allie, you had some other words around that for the moon.
I saw the moon as our spiritual selves and kind of going to those multiverses. So not limited. So the cow to me was the more earthly being, and the moon was that earthly being transcending into a spiritual being that could cross multiverses.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, cow jumped over the moon. Okay, what's the next one? Sorry.
To see such sport. The little dog laughed to see such.
To see such sport. We really didn't talk about the little dog at all. But then we talked about the dish and the spoon. Oh my. Poor doggy getting his feelings hurt. And then we talked about the dish and the spoon, and the symbolism of the dish as being like Mother Gaia, or the world, the whole world that's out there for us. And then the spoon is feeding ourselves. I mean, the physical representation is feeding food, but it's also feeding ourselves spiritually, and recognizing that we can feed ourselves spiritually, but we can't feed anyone else, and we really can't do anyone else's journey for them. In that sense, the food is like the spirit. So each one of us has our own spiritual journey to be on, and we each do our own, and that's it. Not that we can't help or support or nurture others on their journey, but we can't do their spiritual journey for them.
Okay. Interesting. That's an interesting perspective to that. I like that.
Yeah, thank you, Julianne, for a lot of reasons that
Thank you, Renee. Jean, did you want to have any?
That
Oh,
hit home.
Good. Jean, did you have anything else you want to add that I left out?
You're on mute, Jean.
You're on mute. Oh, yeah, because you talked about the cow jumping over the moon was the final. Talk about that, Jean. That's good. You got to take yourself off mute.
You're on mute, Jean.
She knows.
I know. I thought I was off. I didn't know I'd put myself back on. Yeah, the moon meant to me, it always, when you talk about achieving the most wonderful thing you want to achieve in your life, you're reaching for the moon. I mean, I've heard that so many times, and that came back to me. And so for me, the car, was the nourishment and the spirituality, but jumping over the moon meant that I had now, when I jump over the moon, I will have reached spirituality, so that I have achieved all the purposes in this skin, so that I can evolve.
Yes.
And I reach the moon.
Yes.
I'm sorry if it's sometimes it's really difficult to express what you're feeling.
And you know, when you're talking metaspiritually and relating it to within, it does get hard because sometimes we don't even have the words to express what we're thinking from a spiritual perspective. That's one of the problems with language.
And the
I
other,
would just,
That's great. I like
go
that.
ahead, Julia Ann.
well, the other problem talking about our deeper spiritual selves, we don't have that many opportunities to do it. So taking this stuff and putting it into words is not common in our lives, in a sense. And so, you know, I spend a lot more time in meditation than I do actually talking about what I'm meditating about.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And
I just wanted to share that we, at least since I've been a part of this group, we haven't done breakout rooms. And I found it to be a very positive experience. Although we do all share as a bigger group, I felt that there could be more kind of intimacy and more intense sharing as a small group. So my request would be that we do this a little more often.
Yeah, we used to do a good bit of that, and yeah, different people love it. Some people abhor it. So it just, but we like it. We're with you, Allie. We like it because it gives people who may not be as verbal with a whole group a chance to really share some valuable ideas. And
can I say also, I'm with Allie. I enjoy the workout rooms. I think it brings a relationship together that you can't get in a smaller group. So you actually learn more about those people and you feel closer to those people.
Good. Thank you.
Well, something you said early on, Julianne, when you were talking about what the cat means, you said a serious side. Well, since Sharon and I have taken you pretty far out this morning, we thought the serious side could be, which is the star serious.
Phil, you know.
You don't mean the Sirius FM, and you're way beyond that, Bill.
More the multiverse series Jeannie was talking about. Okay, we have a third group here. Let's hear from them.
I nominate Laura for our spokesperson.
You guys are really good at nominating other people. Or are you willing to accept?
No.
You'd rather not. Who would? Does that mean seriously? No, you would rather somebody else do it.
Which is
fine. That is perfectly okay.
We can all.
Who is somebody what?
One of the things we talked about was self-care.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is Janice, Judy, Laura, and Jean, right? This is the group that we're listening to right now. Okay.
And I don't remember if we actually really said this in the group, but I'm thinking about how sometimes it's difficult to take time for self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And we put all these other things first.
Yes.
And Julia Ann even said, you know, when we're done with our chores, then we get time for a laugh. And I'm thinking chores are never done.
Right.
That's what we get into. It's never done.
Yeah.
And I grew up with work before play. I can remember hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm really going to care for myself or have fun in my life, I have to find a way to break through that rule of living.
Yes.
You know, work before play. I have to really figure out a different rule that I can follow that includes play and self-care, like, you know, regularly, you know, like every day,
Making it as important,
right?
as everything else in your life.
Right. So I'm just realizing what a grip that has on inside me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the old programming does.
Mm-hmm. And that's powerful. Yeah, for sure. Renee, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah. She's talking about the self-care. Oh, I lost you again. Where did you go?
We're here, so go ahead and keep talking.
Oh, okay. There we go. I like the idea. I mean, I never noticed this before. I used to say this to my kids all the time when they were little, but the self-care came first.
Mhm.
And I think,
Hope you went on mute. You hit a button that you accidentally hit mute. There you go.
okay. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. I think that's probably the number one thing we need to do. And it should be at least given as much importance as it is your job that you go to, or the housework that you do, or the shopping. I mean, you have to have self-care before you can do any of the other things well.
Yep. One of the touchstone phrases we use is self-care is as important as the very air you breathe. That's how important it is. So,
Well, you know, we had in the meditation this morning, and then we'll get to Marion. And in the meditation this morning, we had the 2 U's, remember? Well, when we talk about self-care, we've got the small s self-care and a capital S self-care. Both of them need attention.
yes, both of them are important. Marion, you had a comment. And then
Had 2 thoughts. One was somebody, maybe a therapist, I don't know who, but said, you need to play more. You need to have more fun in your life. And I said, okay, I'll work on it. I mean, it was just like such a crazy thing to say in the middle of that. I don't know. But, and also I went to a retreat one time, and we talked about how it's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Amen.
Yes, because it's how you perceive it and what you give it. Yeah,
Amen.
I love it. Yeah, I was reading something recently, and it was talking about having fun, and it said, get a permission slip from your adults. That was so cute. Okay, let's go back to the group because Janice, you guys have more to share, I'm sure.
Well, actually, there's so much joy in this. I mean, on every line. And I think that we're kind of talking about that self-care thing. And sometimes we forget that joy lifts us up away from the stuff, the crap, so to speak, that we experience, whether it's just in our personal life or, politics or war or whatever it is. And so that looking at the joy on a daily basis is really, I think that we are reminded about that throughout this whole thing, because it talks about, nourishing and jumping, running, laughing. So all of those things, impact our endorphins. And so we end up looking at life in a little different way, rather than looking at politics or the war or something and feeling that depression, that background stuff that pulls us down. We can revive that joyful spirit within us so that we can experience that throughout our day, throughout our week, our life, or whatever. I felt it full of joy.
I love what you're saying, because especially in the times we're going through right now, people feel guilty.
Yes.
Having fun. It's like, I don't want to laugh because there's so much pain. And yet think about what one of the most powerful videos that went viral, that little girl who stood up and sang Let It Go with the refugees. Did y'all see that? I mean, it was just incredible. She has nothing. Her home is gone. Her family's on, but she stood up in that shelter and sang Let It Go. And I mean, that went viral. She then sang it at a stadium. It's just, when we allow ourselves to rejuvenate and renew our spirit, then we are able to then send that energy out again in a much higher level. And so we owe it to, if we're worried about others, we owe it to others to keep ourselves rekindled. Yeah. So thank you. That's perfect. Julia Ann?
I had a friend she's a watercolor artist. She did a painting on the afternoon of 9/11, 2001 in New York City. And she gave it to me for my birthday because my 50th birthday was a month later. And she said, I painted this on the afternoon of 9/11. I don't know why. Well, it's a picture of a redheaded girl laughing out loud. And I said to her, this is the antidote. That's why you painted it. And she just went,
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep, that is, you are so right. Yeah. Other things from the group. Judy, do you have anything you want to share? Jean? Did I cover it?
Yeah, I think we kind of, what Janice said, just, really got the idea of how important it is, and what Laura said, to take care and to have joy in your life and peace in your life. And one of the things I said was that when I first read this, I thought, this reminds me of when I first see a spiritual truth. It's kind of like a lot of words that don't make any sense. And then after a while, it starts to sink in and you're like, oh, I get it. Okay. There's some other meaning here, or I can interpret some other meaning. So that was the only other.
That's the crock pot, Jeannie, don't you think? Yeah.
Exactly.
That crock pot working. That's so true. And the reason we chose this one, we just thought if we can metaspiritually interpret something as silly as hey diddle diddle, then everything, we can find that meaning, because it teaches you a new way to think. You start thinking about how I am growing from the inside out.
I got a question for us. Which version of self gets the self-care?
both.
My big S gets more self-care
Big S.
than my little s. I'll admit that.
But my body has to be properly cared for the big S to be successful in it. Jesus made that comment about do not neglect the physical needs of the body. Those are like the baseline. So I have to take care of those first to then be able to do the spiritual stuff on top.
Ah,
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm grabbing at straws here, but I don't mean that I don't do you're gone again. I don't know what's the matter with my computer. Sorry. It's I bathe, I eat, I wash my hair, I do all of that, but the extra things that you would like to do, like pedicure and manicure, nothing makes me feel any better than that. But I always have something else to do. I kind of put that aside. So that's the kind of little less care that I'm talking about. When my feet hurt from wearing heels, I'm still wearing heels, and that I wear them anyway. I know my feet are going to hurt at the end of the day, but it's okay because I'm appropriately attired, I guess is what I'm thinking of. But the extra care that you should give yourself, I have a problem with getting that done. But I'm clean. I don't smell. My hair's combed.
We get it. We get it.
Okay.
You take care of the essentials, but
I take care of the essentials. That's right. Yeah.
thank you, Laura, and then Rick.
So this is really quick. I was just wondering, Bill, if you could, maybe in the future, but help us with this programming and maybe help us come up with a new rule for the order of things, for the priorities.
Interesting.
Okay, so a way to make it turn it into a habit.
Like, in other words, taking work before play, and turning it into reinterpreting it
Yep.
in a way that's actually helpful
Ooh, that's a,
for our growth and our health.
Well, thank you, Laura, because my next question to the group was going to be, which self is your true self? Something to think about.
and I'm writing that idea down
Yeah.
to do that for a program for.
Yeah, for sure.
to
Thank
just
you very
talk
much.
about
We'll
how-
do it.
Yeah,
Rick, and then Sally or Jeff.
Rick first.
I was thinking about the talks that we have, the experience like today and some of the other stuff, we get so in depth metaphysically. And I go back to like Jeff with his Native American, some of the different Reiki teachers and all the stuff we study. And really that capital S self-care is really about simplicity. Simplicity is really important. We were on a walk yesterday, and it's just noticing a little purple flower that's in the middle of a dirt road, or just the simple lines and things. So when you get back to the simple basic stuff where you really have that joy and appreciation for life itself. And it's the simple things like you were talking about, we were talking about breathing. We were just some of the simple things. So when I get into this mode, and Bill, you know, you will read science and get really in depth with physics and stuff. And then really what is the basics is that simplicity, the simple things in life. Seeing your friend or your significant other smile, or, you know, a dog playing, or the cat, you know, the different things like that. So basically I get always kind of go back to self-care equals simplicity in life. So
yeah, that's a great perspective.
Which could be SSS, right? Little s self-care, capital S self-care, capital S simplicity.
don't get Bill started, okay?
Okay, Sally and Jeff.
Oh, I was just going to say, oh, that's right. I get too close. No matter what you do it with joy. I mean, that's, if you're working, if you're pulling weeds, if you're out sunning yourself, I don't know, just bring joy in, and you can. It's just with your thoughts. You think about a great moment, you think about positive things, you look at nature and take a deep breath. So for me, that's what I do, and I try and keep myself in that mode.
Perfect. Yeah, that's, in fact, one of our spiritual practices is called that, do it with joy. And no matter what, if you have to do something and you know you don't want to do it, just say, well, I'm going to have to do this anyway. I might as well do it with joy. You know? And it is transformational in your mind. It really is.
And if you want to huckleberry fend it, when you do it with joy, do it with a woman named Joy. She could do all the work.
I didn't want to say this, Bill, but your day job. That's 3 times so far today. I just wanted to add a little something. It's great to have other people's ideas and thoughts on how to reach different things like self, okay? No matter what the self is, if we focus too much on it and dissect it, I used to be like that. You know, I want to make my world. When I started doing spirituality 25 years ago, the conscious awakening, you know, I would say, well, I want to be like that person. No, I don't. I want to be me, you know, and learning that over this time of the conscious awakening, it helps me. I appreciate people asking that. Well, how do I go about that? I suggest I'll make an offer of something that I would do. It doesn't mean it will work for you. Do you put work ahead of joy, you know, taking care of yourself physically or mentally? I think the thing of it is, go within ask yourself, do you feel better when you've dressed up, say, you know, to go even just to the grocery store? Or is it okay to go in the jeans and a t-shirt that you've been wearing because you've been working around the yard of the house, something like that? You know, those choices, to me, that's like, it's wasted time on being able to smile, you know. I mean, I found that now in my life, you know, what matters, go to the what matters place and say, hey, you know what? I'm happy, you know, and it's not me who doesn't like how I look. It's who's looking at me. So, I mean, of course, I'm good looking, so I don't have to worry about it. But, well,
Janice.
It's interesting, this conversation, because I have an exercise class that I do every week. And the teacher in that class has us, everyone in the class, introduce ourselves by our first name. But we have to put an adjective before our name with the first letter of our first name. And so it's really interesting, because what happens is that, and then we go around and name everybody. And sometimes you remember the adjective instead of the name or something like that. But it's so much fun. It is so much fun to hear what people say about themselves in that, but it has to be a positive adjective. Anyway.
That's cool.
I was reminded about that as we were
use that
talking.
technique a lot, and it is, first of all, it's a great memory peg to remember.
It is. It is.
It is so fun to come up with the adjectives. Yeah,
It is.
people do remember. We always tell people, don't pick an adjective unless you want to follow you for a while, because
Yes.
you will be called that.
Yeah. And Laura, caboosing something that you said earlier, and what Janice was just referring to when she said exercise. We invite you to exercise everything that isn't you. And that's EXOR.
Oh. You're going to get a note from Jeff again.
I know, I figured that.
I did want to say to Jeff, you got to know this is his day job.
Okay, I'll
Just
find something else.
so your head doesn't start spinning around.
But think about it, folks, to be courageous enough and joyful enough to exercise what isn't you.
Mhm.
You don't need to carry that baggage around.
That's right. Letting it go is so
Let it go.
important. Let it go. Release. Julia Ann.
Well, since we're talking about joy, I want to share with you all. I am currently reading The Book of Joy, which is the description of a 5-day visit of Archbishop Desmond Tutu to the Dalai Lama's residence in Dharamsala, India. And the two of them were already very good friends. And basically, the two of them had a discussion for 5 days about their friendship and joy. And it turns out it also improved the quality of their friendship significantly. And then this guy just, recorded it and kept track and then put it into words in a book. It's a fabulous reading. I picked it up because I've been grieving so much. I thought that reading this was kind of the polar opposite of grieving, and it might be really good for me, and it is. I got to tell you guys, I'm doing it as part of my daily spiritual practice. I can't read more than 1 or 2 pages of that book. There is so much spiritual meat in that book. It's like, no, stop, I got to absorb it. It's an incredible book, if anybody's interested.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we used the adjectives in the first retreat I did with you guys, and I was judicious Julia Ann, and we had a horrible time because there were so many J names. We were running out of, you guys all remember, we were running out of adjectives.
It's one of the hard, J and K are two of the hardest letters. And we have a bunch of J's. Just here today, we have a bunch of J's. We got Julie Ann, Judy, and Janice, and Jean, and Jeannie. Other J's.
Yes.
Jeff. It's like all these J's. So there's so many adjectives to come up with. So you were judicious. That's funny.
I think so.
That's great. Okay. So hopefully you've got some new ideas. Are you interested in seeing the little poem we came up with? Is that okay? It's just, it's anyway, I will just show you. It's kind of funny. Okay, here it is. Okay. Hey, let's take time out to nourish our soul and let all our worries be healed.
Trust in the truth, take a risk, and have fun as together we run in the field.
I like it. I like it.
So that's our version of Hey Diddle Diddle.
I'm gonna put that in
Now-
the chat box.
I can do that, yes.
Okay.
Is that in the thing that the file that we downloaded?
No, but I will send it now because it's a separate file. I mean, it's a JPEG thing. Let's see.
Are
Here.
we getting ready to close?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Okay, I have a request. I don't know if you've noticed this lump in my forehead. I don't know if y'all
yes.
knew that I had sinus cancer in '94, and they cut my head open and like stirred it with a stick. And so they really did. I mean, they opened it all the way. And now it's not cancer. It's like in the remnants of what's left of my sinuses, this thing has formed and filled with fluid and doesn't have a way to drain out. And it's common with sinus surgery. And when I had a CAT scan and all that, and when he went in there and looked around, he found another one in the back of my head. This is with sphenoid sinus. And so anyway, I'm going to have surgery, and it's going to be kind of important surgery because, you know, the brain fluid is right there. And anyway, so help.
Absolutely.
Do that. Do you know when your surgery is yet?
No, they haven't scheduled it because they have to fit it in. The surgeon is booked through May 31st, but he said he would fit me in somehow. He's a really nice guy. My new surgeon, the one that I've had since '94, is retiring. So this new guy, I really like him. He's really caring and explains everything twice because I don't understand the first time. Stuff like that. Anyway, that's my story.
Marion, thanks
I
for,
think we need to.
We will. We will.
yeah, thanks for bringing
Yes, and Marion, could you ask us to let Bill and Cher know when your surgery is so they can email us and then we can pray for you on the day of your surgery also?
Okay,
Yep.
I will.
at the time as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's start that right now. Okay, let's hold Marion up right now.
So we just take a moment now to go to our heart centers, which we know brings us all together in that oneness of energy, and allow our energy affirming wholeness, healing, health, the divine power of life to be flowing through you as you move through this surgery. And we affirm it is absolutely successful. We see your body preparing for it now, and all the surgical team operating from highest levels of wisdom and understanding. So we take a moment now just to surround you with that energy of healing and wholeness. And we affirm you are at peace as you move through this process, knowing you are not alone. And so it is.
So it is. And Marion, please let us know the day and the time, and we'll all be in the operating room with you.
Yes, we will. Yeah, with energy. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, giving us all the opportunity to hold that for you.
Yes.
Yay.
Marian, if you would call me, we can schedule a Reiki session.
That'd be great. That's
Cool.
Thank you, Janice.
It's so great. You guys are awesome. It's just so, you don't know what it means to have such a special group. We were talking about it this morning, what a special group you guys are and how much it touches us to be able to work with all of you. Thank you so much for how you support each other too. Amazing. Okay, so we are at our end, and we know that we are all going to go out and have fun this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every day we are going to transform that thought process that Laura was telling us about, that we all recognize about that work before play. We are going to make play a priority and have fun.
Dance like nobody's looking.
I like that. I love that. Nobody's looking. Let's
Me
just
too.
breathe in the powerful energy that we have created together and know that we are dancing like nobody's looking, and we are dancing together and having just an incredible life experience as we walk the spirit, as we dance the spiritual path on practical, positive, prosperous feet. And so it is.
So it is.
Yes.
And so it is.
We are dancing. Let's hug our group hug. Oh, love you guys. Love you, love you, love you. And anybody wants to stick around for lunch, we will be here and have who knows what kind of conversation. It's always different, always fun. So bless you all. Yay.
Bye.